All right, welcome back. It's the Coach Mark Gottfried Show, and man, I've had some great guests, and this guest today is going to be fascinating, interesting. I've known him for years, and I'm going to say up front, I've got great respect for Emanuel Book Richardson. He's my friend, been a friend. He's a fabulous basketball coach, coaching high school basketball now on the East Coast there in Virginia, but welcome in, Book. Everybody knows in our world we know you as Book, man. Nobody knows you as Emmanuel. It's just Book. How you doing?
Coach, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Again, been a friend but a fan of yours for a very long time. So thank you for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure, Buck. I wish I'd have hired you a couple times. That's what I needed to do. You and me, we'd have conquered it, man. We'd have been on the top
We would have
box.
got
I
us a
can promise you
national
that.
championship, Coach. We would have got us one.
So I'm going to set the story up just a little bit. Some people followed this, some people didn't, but we were all coaching. I was coaching, and you were assistant coach at Arizona. Before that, at Xavier, and we're going to a little bit later. We're going to dive into your story, just about how growing up and your love of the game and basketball. But we're going to dive right into this. When you're an assistant coach at Arizona, I had just been let go at NC State. I'd been there for a while, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we're all kind of shocked and surprised because not only is the NCAA, which I'm not a fan of, I've said it publicly many times. They say I'm not a big fan at all of a lot what goes on at the NCAA, but all of a sudden we wake up and the FBI in the Southern District of New York is chasing down coaches and shoe company executives and players and assistant coaches and kind of diving in, and all of a sudden that's a little bit different than just having the NCAA, come knocking on your door. But for you, Book, and I think this is one of the greatest injustices, period, we've had in our sport. You ended up getting indicted and spent a little time having to serve some
Mhm.
time, which again to me is blows my mind. It's just crazy. And now we see guys with in college basketball and football. We're paying them $3 or $4 million, and we're just offering them money on the front end. Coach is just saying, "What's the number? How much we got to pay to get you?" So for you, Book, just talk a little bit about that experience. I know it was a difficult time in your life, but just talk a little bit about it.
Coach, the time was humiliating, humbling. You go from getting to know someone to, saying, "Hey, now I know him. Maybe I can help." Because that, Coach, that's what we've done. We've helped kids. We've helped families. We've tried to put some people that we care about who could help us, and we could help them as well. I make no mistake. I made a bad decision based on the rules at the time. So again, I hold myself accountable, and I think that's the one thing I've been very consistent with. Hey, good people make bad decisions, but again, I was doing my best to work. I was doing my best to compete. I was doing my best, and at that time, my best. It, it wasn't it wasn't the status quo publicly. So when you go from dealing with hey, did you break a rule? Yeah, I broke a rule. I definitely didn't break a law. Again, that's not who I am, who I was. And especially through
Yeah.
basketball, right? We're recruiting at a high level. Coach, you've recruited at a high level for decades. You understood the margin of error and what you had to do to try to figure it out. To one, get a kid on your campus, but also get a kid on your campus that you weren't changing his world with anything. Like, I wasn't changing anyone's world with what I was giving them. I was changing their world with what I could make sure that they could get, that it was a tangible gift through athletics, right? Because again, I'm trying to help. So, you wake up one morning at 6, and coach, it was a bad look, man. Long night. I just got off the road, and I'm thinking that it's the landscape was coming in. It's Tucson. It's hot, so they're coming in early, and it was like you got 8 FBI agents with a battering ram, and it's like, man, I had
Mm,
my dog has passed on since,
mm.
but my dog name was Leonidas of the 300. We called him Leo for short. So, you got this French Mastiff, and he's going crazy. And it's like, what's going on? And that happened. And September 26th, I'll always say it's my day of infamy. Um, and your life changes, and it's tumultuous, and it's like, man, I'm watching the Final Four now, and I'm saying, what I thought was help 10 years ago, now guys are kind of laughing. They're scoffing at 20 grand, like 20 grand. What are you talking about? We're putting teams together for 20 million. So, again,
Mhm.
you go through Otisville prison camp and you're like, no, I'm a basketball coach. Coach, it was the funniest thing because when you got there, you had some guys they kind of laughed at me like, what are you doing here? The consensus was you pissed someone off. That's why you're here. You piss someone off. Like there's no
Yeah.
restitution, restitution for
Yeah.
what? 20 grand. Come on, you had to piss someone off.
Mhm.
So watching this thing go, watching basketball, there's a level of emotion in every Final Four, every year, excuse me, the tournament happens. And as it happens, man, it's a deep depression because I miss being there. You now have your
Mhm.
um constituents, your friends, your cohorts, right? Your colleagues, those guys are now head coaches. Those guys are, you're watching them compete, you're watching them compete during the year. And it's like, man, I'm coaching high school basketball. And I'm grateful to be where I'm at the St. James Performance Academy. But it's like, man, I'm watching those guys and you root for them and then you're mad
Mhm.
at them. Call a timeout, get a timeout. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
this thing is, I wouldn't say it's come full circle, but it's made me appreciate that being dropped
Mhm.
from Mount Olympus, so to say, and now being here.
Yeah.
And like I said, I can't say
Yeah.
how thankful I am to be on your show.
Well, thanks, Book. And let me say this. I say this. I've told many people this too. I was a head coach for a lot of years, and we all try to follow the NCAA rules, and a lot of times you've done it, I've done it. I remember sitting in a kid's home in Mobile, Alabama. It's 115 degrees outside. It's in September. It's hot. We're waiting on his mom to come, and he's over there on the couch sweating like crazy. And I drive down to the Shell station and grab some Gatorades. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm probably breaking a rule. I just want to give the guy a Gatorade, man. We're in there dying. He's dying. I'm dying. My assistant coach, we're sweating. But the rules, they're rules. We understand that. And I'm not
Yep.
trying to minimize it. But at the same time, there's a part of humanity too. You're just trying to be I'd do that for anybody. Hell, I would have went and got a Gatorade for anybody in that moment. And like in your situation, and there was a lot of us around the country, NC State, Louisville, Kansas, Arizona. I believe in my gut. I will say this, Book. I think that uh, they wanted to make an example out of somebody. You just happen to be the one, honestly, because there was a lot of people, and we've known it forever. College recruiting is probably more competitive than the games themselves that
Yes,
we
sir.
play in. It's a war, and when you're recruiting a great player, and it comes down to 2 or 3 schools, and they're all good schools, and they're all good coaches, and everybody's put guys in the NBA, and it's just so competitive. And you get to that 11th hour sometimes, but then to have the FBI involved in the Southern District of New York, um, I was blown away because, obviously at NC State, we had a young guy that Adidas was involved with the whole thing. And so now all of a sudden, I just kept scratching my head like, what in the world are they doing involved in this? I mean, we're still talking about college basketball, college football. Like, there's real criminals in the
Yeah.
world. There's rapists and murderers and drug dealers, and we can go find those guys, FBI. So I always felt, Book, like you got a really raw deal. I hope that you're coaching again in college soon. You deserve it. I always thought, in my view, you're one of the best. And here's what people forget too, Book. You worked your
Yeah.
way up the ladder. You played small college basketball,
Hmm.
you got an
Hmm.
opportunity to coach, and then you were climbing like we all did. You're climbing that ladder, doing everything you can. And next thing you got people knocking on your door, and it's just absolutely nuts. And so, tell me, as all this kind of happened, and now it's behind you a little bit. What lessons have you learned? Like what would you tell young people or young assistant coaches? Now the climate's changed now because you can just offer guys money and $2 or $3 million, whatever. But what would you tell those guys that you
I've learned
learned?
the biggest thing, relationships. And they were important for me then. They're even more important for me now because even now, coach, I think being solid. You know, you've always been one way with me. I go back to a story when we were in New York City in the hotel, and you said, I'm going to hire you. And I was like, you know, you were more a celebrity to me. It wasn't like this like Mark Gottfried said he's gonna hire me. I'm like, I told my friends that because again, you are a celebrity to me. And relationships, when you talk about 8, 9 years later, I'm on the show because of a relationship. I would tell younger guys now, you know, even with the NIL era, you still have to have a relationship with the guy. I understand the speed
Yes.
dating. I understand you can just say, "Hey, this is the number." You know, I think we've taken away the personal. Um, I think we've taken away that personal aspect of you. Still, do you care about your players, right, Coach? You've cared about your players.
Mhm.
There's a ton of coaches, but when you can put a dollar amount on it, when you can put now you can value it. You know, who do you blame? You know, so and I also learned like, man, I understood what depression was. You know, I understood that, man, you know, Book, you got some things going on that you need to address. I understood it's okay to be vulnerable because as you teach especially where I grew up, you always you always was taught to, suck it up, man up. And it's like, man, I'm hurting. You know, I've had people say, man, Book, I hate when you cry. And it's like, well, I didn't wake up this morning and say I want to cry today. It happens, and being able to address that and understanding who I am because after everything that's happened, I still believe in the brotherhood. I still believe in this culture fraternity. I miss it. I want to be in it. It was working. I got a really quick story. I got into basketball and I kind of didn't want to do it. There was a back in I think in '05, '06, one of those deals going to the Nike All American camp. And Rod Strickland, who was an assistant coach, I think at Kentucky at the time, I said, I'm going to the camp and, mentor, idol. And he says, hey, I got somebody. And he calls Worldwide West. And William Wesley sees me in Indy and he took me under the wing and said, hey, you know what? You're going to be a college coach. And I'm like, I'm good. I was there to see two of my guys with the Gauchos. So again, relationships, right? Being able to meet a guy like George Raveling, Glenn Merritt, Jeff Rogers, Keith Brown, all those guys, Merle Cole, relationships. And it happened because I believe there's no honor amongst thieves, but damn it, there should be honor amongst men.
Mm.
So that's what I would
Yes.
talk to especially the
Period.
younger guys. Have some honor, have some
Mm.
understand good people make bad
Yeah.
decisions. And it's not about me
Yeah.
pointing the finger at anyone. The NCAA, right? Man,
Yeah.
I'd love an opportunity. Everyone else or others have gotten an opportunity. It's been 10 years. I didn't make a mess of anyone, a mockery, you know, stood 10 toes down and accepted my punishment and didn't bring anyone with me. Didn't shake the, quote unquote, we got your playbook. You sure? You sure? So, those words will live on with me.
And Book, that's why for me right now, I would, if I was a head coach right now, you're the first person I'd call because not only here's what I've learned too, Book, and I've gone through some tough times, and I was coaching at NC State, and the athletic director made a decision to fire me. This was way before any of this came out with the FBI and all that. And it really, we all get fired. That's part of life. I've been fired, but
Mhm.
I'm still a person. I'm still a human being. And it still hurts. And, I've told people I've crawled up in my bed at times and just wondered what happened. Here I am on the sideline in the Sweet 16 or the NCAA tournament or the Elite Eight. And, next thing you know, I'm turning around. There's nowhere to go. I'm by myself. I don't have a team. And I struggled. But those situations to me, I used to call them, well, I failed here and I failed there. But really, now I look at them, they're just great learning opportunities. And if you learn and if you own it, I own it. Like me personally, I own the mistakes I made. Uh, I love the fact that you don't hide from it, you don't run from it, you're not blaming somebody else. That those are lessons we all can learn in life. And again, man, you're just
Yep.
trying to do your job, man, as best you can. And people don't understand at that level that you and I were at and it's Arizona and NC State and North Carolina and Duke and Louisville and Kentucky and Kansas and whomever it, and we're all recruiting the same
Every year.
dude, the same guy. I mean, it's the same guy. And people really don't have any idea how competitive that was, number one. And again, but you said, like honor amongst thieves, like everybody understands, like, hey, we're all, man, trying to win. We're all trying to make a living, and we're all trying to help young people and have a relationship with these young people and their families. And I look at you, your career, the DeAndre Aytons, the Aaron Gordons, all these guys that you were involved with, that you helped them, Book, like you helped them, period. And so that's one thing, man, I've always appreciated about you, because some people make mistakes, and the first thing they want to do is start blaming everybody else. It's everybody else's fault. And you got to have self-honesty. You got to be accountable to yourself. I have as well. I speak all over the country now, and I talk about it. And you have that same thing. Talk about that a little bit, and how, what goes through your mind when I
So,
say that.
a lot of things go through my mind because right now I'm in charge of high school students. So who better to talk to than someone that's been through something, that's going to hold themselves accountable. How can I hold you accountable and I don't hold myself accountable? Hey, that one more, don't pass fake to an open guy. One more. Hey, you're supposed to be in the gap. I can hold you accountable, right? And I know I'm going to get crushed for this, but so many people wanted me to hate Sean Miller. And I'm like, how? I was with him for 10 years. I learned a lot. I got a lot from it. I don't know. I don't what happened. I don't think he called the FBI on us, but it happened.
Yeah.
And what you learn is, man, I hate him. I love him. Listen, you know what? Everyone's got a job to do. I realized that when you are in a situation, you never know what's going to happen until you're in it. There's no one that I know this in a million years. If you said, "Hey, Book, can you make the 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 DEFCON 5 scenario of you not coaching college basketball?" I would have never said the FBI was going to be at my house at 6 in the morning. However, coach, they showed up, and you know what? I used to be mad at them. They had a job to do. They didn't wake up and say, "Hey, I'm going to Tucson, Arizona, and I'm going to I'm going to get Book Richardson." They weren't. So that through time I had to um open up and understand I made a decision, right? And the decision that I made put me here. The people that were that were involved in that decision as well, they didn't do 90 days in jail. Wasn't meant for them. And I just say God gives his, his strongest battles to his strongest soldiers. And I'm still fighting. I'm elite level soldier. I'm as loyal as they get because that's who I am. Like I said, coach, I know nothing else. I stand on certain things. And again, I believe there may be no honor amongst these, but there's honor amongst men. You're a man. Like I
Yeah.
I got love.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like, those are the things that, because I get emotional now because every day I show up and I'm supposed to show up. And those kids now have an opportunity to get, whether it's NIL, these young ladies have an opportunity to get NIL because of what we went through. And coach, you talk about you're at NC State, you're dealing with Duke and Carolina every single year. What's your competitive advantage? It's you. Right? You're at Alabama. You're dealing with Auburn, Florida, every single year. Vandy, every single year. You showed up. You didn't quit. There was no quit in you. Mark Gottfried, there's no quit whatsoever. I've known you for, you've never quit. Hell, you went the other way. You said, watch this. I'm going to beat these guys. And that was my mentality at Arizona. That was my mentality anywhere I've been. That's my mentality right now at the St. James Performance Academy. Right, making sure that I can hold myself accountable and hold these kids accountable. And also, I'm going to have some bad days. I'm going to have some emotional days. I'm going to tear up. I'm going to cry. That's who I am, and I've accepted that.
Book, who like for me, when I've hit some of those rock bottom moments, and let me ask you the question. Who you're sitting there, I guarantee it, you're sitting there a few times and you're staring at the ceiling, laying in bed thinking, what in the world has just happened? And a million things are going through your head, but who was your support group? Like, who helped you? Because all of us in life, we need help. We need others sometimes just to be there. Like, who helped you but kind of get through all that, which when you were going through a difficult period in your
Definitely,
life?
Rod Strickland, um, Ash Howard
Mm,
at Villanova, um, Kamani Young, right? Those guys, they were there. Tu Holloway, who's now at South Florida. He was there front center.
mm,
I go back to William Wesley, Worldwide West. He gave me a gapper, right? He made sure that when I came home that I had a couple of dollars in my pocket. Um, you know,
mm,
there were guys who were trying to reach out, and then there were some guys who didn't know to reach out. They didn't know what to say. Um, they didn't know, like, man, how does he feel? Like, one of the biggest guys was Wayne Pratt, Kevin Durant's dad. Like, Wayne Pratt made sure I was okay. Like, the AAU community, the grassroots community, Reggie Morris, Brian Dyke, like, those dudes made sure that we got to make sure Book's okay. And those would be the dudes like, yo, I don't want to see you crying,
mm.
man. You're an ugly crier. So, but those dudes made sure that I was okay. They made sure when they called Chucky Martin, they made sure, man, are you okay? And I look back at it, it's like, man, it's almost 10 years, coach. But it's like, man, Kimmy English comes by to talk basketball with me. Right. I got a friend, Danny Peters.
Mm,
We talk, we talk early offense. I'm still a coach, right? I'm still learning. I'm still helping. Penny Hardaway, like, because I'm starting to go through like guys that called and just said, hey, let's talk basketball. It was awesome for
mm,
me. And it's like, we started talking, how you defending a down? Like,
mhm,
what do you do? How you defending that pin down? I had a chance and like,
mhm,
you talk about big fan. I was at an Adidas um grassroots directors event. Fran Fraschilla came and embraced me. The biggest embrace. I was in tears and I was shaking.
mm.
And he said, you're gonna be all right. And then after I went to Coach Self's office and we talked basketball for about an hour. So it just, you felt like, man, I
Mm,
belong. I'm a part of this brotherhood. I'm not just one way, but
mm.
I got a, a skill set. And like I forget that movie when they say, hey, you got a very specific skill set and you're very good at it. It's again relationships, it's people, it's making everyone, put everyone in the room, making them feel good about, who they are and also about who I am because I'm family oriented and I love this. I love this.
Well, because there have been times like when I'm real honest with myself, like if I'm just, and I always want to be honest with myself. I'm 62 years old and I turn the TV on and, I'm watching games and I'm thinking to myself, it's just human nature. This is human nature. And I'm looking at a guy going, like, why am I not out there? Like I should be. That guy's out there coaching. Like I've known that guy, and I've when I was coaching, I beat him 100 times in a row. And he's sitting there, but I also, I'm at peace with where I am. But like for you, is there times where I know that has to be where difficult when you're just, but you can't let that creep into your life all the time either
Yeah.
because that just brings bitterness. It brings frustration. But have you
Coach,
dealt
I
with
deal
some of
with it
that
all
as
the
well?
time. I'm coaching on this Nike Scholastic League, and I'm like, man, there's some pretty good coaches. And after a game, and then you have an afternoon game, and then it's like, man, I'm watching, you know, um, Arizona versus Arizona State, and it's like, man, it's what I would do to be on that bench,
Yeah.
and again, I'm looking
Yeah.
like, can I be mad at Tommy Lloyd? Of course not. I root for those guys. I root for
Yeah.
Arizona. Can I be mad at Texas? No.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
my best friend, one of my best friends in the world is Terrence French. He's the all-time leading scorer there. Like I have love for that program. And by the way, I have assistant coaches on that staff that I would do anything for. So again, like you
Mhm.
you do get caught up in where you want to be versus where you are. And like I said, coach, I've
Yes.
dealt with the whole depression thing and still dealing with it because I used to be so embarrassed to say that, man, this is how I feel versus no, this is how I feel. And What's the trigger? Again, the beginning of the tournament, I'm in tears because it's like I knew what that
Yeah.
feeling was. I knew what it was like. Hey, during the year, we're trying to be a 1 seed, we're trying to be a 2 seed. We talked about the level of respect. If you have all white on, you have your home jerseys on during the tournament, then you're the higher seed, right? We talked about where the seeding was, So
Mm.
again, now as you're watching this thing unravel, and it's like, man, I'm trying to worry about a high school team and getting getting the kid back into college. Man, I wish I was back in college. So, coach, I definitely I know that feeling because I was there this morning. I was again scared. Like, man, I'm going to go on here and I want to impress coach. I want to make sure that coach still knows that he's my man, he's my guy.
You should.
Because again, you become a pleaser.
No, you don't need to do that.
And it's like,
No.
hey, I got my
Well,
shirt on, make sure I got the right backdrop, I, w- it was all of that. So those are the things that,
yeah.
and that's who I am. And I'm not afraid anymore to show who I am and what I am and
Um,
how I feel.
yeah. Yeah. Book for you, um, like even growing up, because I'm watching and listening to a very resilient man who got punched in the gut pretty hard, harder than most of us ever have in our profession. Yet your response, like your attitude, it's it's um it's wonderful. But like for you, like we
Mhm.
get those things from somewhere. Like some of those characteristics that we all have, because some people fold the tent. They just fold the tent and they drift off into the abyss, and we never hear from them again. And but you have that resilient spirit, that fight in you. Where did all that come from, Book, for you as a younger person and then becoming an adult and then
My
becoming a
mom
man?
has always been instrumental in my development. And what she gave me, as a teen mom, right? She gave me resiliency because she could have, you know, given up on me. She didn't have to go through with having me. So I was really fortunate that I watched her fight, and I was also incredibly blessed to have the coach that I had. At 13, I had this guy by the name of Mike Sereno. He was the toughest. He and Tommy Swin, they were the toughest SOBs. But what they taught was grit, toughness, resilience. Then I get to high school and I got this guy, Gary the Caesar, and I'm like, I hate him. I hated him. I hated him because he held me accountable. Like that toughness, that anger. He made me understand what it was to win and win and how you win, winning at a high level. And he forced me to lead. Those were the things that it just, you got a kid that goes to St. Raymond's all boys high school. Um, you grew up in the Bronx, you grew up in Harlem, you know, you're raised, you're born in Queens, you got great friends in Brooklyn. So that borough, I mean, excuse me, those boroughs raised me. That city raised me. And when they talk about being strong,
Mm.
resilient, that's what I saw growing up every single day. And we were poor, but we didn't act poor, right? We still had to get up and work. That nothing was given, everything was earned. And like I said, then after my high school coach, I was fortunate. I got this guy by the name of Bob Rugavina who coached me at University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown, small school. Stephen DeMayo, who coached me in junior college. Like those guys held me accountable. Like I coached because of them. Coach, I never thought I'd coach. I was like, I'm not coaching a guy like you, Book. And the guys I've had success with are guys like me. So growing up in the Bronx, Harlem, being born in Queens, running around in Brooklyn, right? Even frequenting Staten Island, those five boroughs are the reason I'm the way I am right now because I saw nothing but toughness. Guys were resilient. There was an honor. My brother. I would be remiss if I didn't mention, Edward Brian McFadden, right? He's famous barbershop. When this thing happened, he said, you know what? I said, man, I'm willing to do anything. Hey, you're going to get 60 years. He sat me down and he said, we don't do anything like that. You're going to have a Fed number. And if you get 60 years, we'll build a monument for you. I was like, well, hell, I'm not going to be around to see the
Mm.
monument. He said, it's not about that. He said, it's about, as a man, we do some things and then you own it. And I didn't want to own it. Coach, I did not want to own it.
Mhm.
But he held me accountable to the point where
Wow.
I said, this is going to hurt. And I wasn't anticipating it still hurt here, but it hurt. But those guys we can always reflect back to and say, I remember when I was in the barbershop with my brother Brian, with my brother Ty, right, with my brother Mike Borelli. I can go back to
Mhm.
those guys making sure and holding me accountable right now. So when you're having a bad day, I can call them.
Mm.
That toughness we talk about. You're not tough, man. You're not
Mm.
tough. You know what? Tough people last. Tough times don't. Tough people last.
Mhm. Mhm. That's it. Amen, brother. But where did you? Because when I used to watch you from a distance, and we started this show, I told I wanted to hire you. I'd hire you right now if I was a head coach. I wanted to hire you. I couldn't get you one time. I wanted to bad. But one of the things that always stood out to me, and I watched you, was how well and how your relationships with the guys you recruited, in my view, from a distance. Now, I wasn't there every day, but it appeared like if we tried to recruit a guy that you were recruiting, you had built a relationship with those guys that they wanted to be with you. And there was a bond there. You start going through all the guys and the lottery picks, and you've been involved with as many lottery picks as most anybody in a country. And high level guys now. We're talking about number 1 picks, number 2 picks in the draft, 3 pick, number 4 picks. You've had all those guys, but talk about your desire, and that's not fake either. You weren't just developing a relationship just to get them to Arizona or to Xavier, wherever that was. But talk about that a little bit, because I
So,
always
Coach,
respected that about you
Coach
from a
Van Gundy,
distance.
Stan Van Gundy, sorry, Jeff, excuse me. He had said something a long time ago. Guys don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I recruited into a family. And I tried to make sure that no matter whether we got a guy or we didn't, it wasn't kind of, hey, move on. Because I always felt, find out why didn't you get the kid? And the kids are they're the greatest promoters of anyone. They're going to say whether they had a good time or not, or they'll say, listen, dude's going to take care of you. And that was, I took pride in taking care of them. Illegally, right, man? Hey, come on up, let's get something to eat. Because I got to know something about you. I have to understand that when I remember Kobe Simmons, who we got from Atlanta. I had to get to know him, right? I had to get to know his situation. I had to get to know dad, mom, but
Mhm.
I had to get to know him. And if you got to know him, you were going to get the best out of him. Because I believe that. And I know what I got with all my coaches. I still have lifelong relationships because I believe in that. Some people don't, and that's okay as well. But I always want to make sure that you felt that you were family, that you can call me that, listen, if you're hungry, I got you. If you need some advice, I got you. Um, if you need the truth, I got you.
Mhm.
Every pick, every guy in
Mhm.
the NBA that got drafted, I went to where they live. I want to see where you live, right? After, because I can also, put you back into kind of place like, hey, this isn't you. This ain't you, man. This ain't you. And having that relationship, you were also able to tell them the truth. If coach, like I know, there's guys you've known for 40 years that you probably don't have the relationship. And no, I'm not telling you the truth because you're not ready to accept it. So again, I just always tried to tell a kid, listen, I'm here for you. Um, I would love to be at your wedding. And I want to be one of the first people you call when you go through a divorce. But that's real because just like a lot of adults are in, they're in a kid's life for a reason, a season. But again, just I need to be there because that's who we are. And I think the easiest sell is when you pick up the phone and you say, "Hey,
Mhm.
talk to your friend about me." Oh man, it's Uncle Book, man. He treats me like it's Unc, because we are family. And I also know this: if you didn't offensive rebound and you're supposed to, I'm gonna cuss you out. So it's all good. Did you get back on defense? But again, like I know, if they feel you care about them, there's nothing that you could say. They know it's coming out of love. They know, like, I want the best for you because that's what we talked about. That's what
Mhm.
we've shown. I trust, coach. Trust is huge for me.
Mhm.
They always say in the hood, I guess, say, what is it?
Mhm.
You're 10 toes down, you stand 10 toes down. Well, I stand 10 toes down, for these kids, and I'm gonna hold you accountable, just like coaches. I'm loyal to a flaw. I don't know anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Book, when you go back and you look back, and I hope you have a lot of basketball in front of you. I really do. I hope that you've got, I just pray that you're gonna be
It would
back
be
at a
great if
high
it was with you.
level, and I hope that for you because you deserve it. But
It'd be a lot of fun.
well, thank you, and that'd be fun. It'd be a lot of fun. We do a lot of winning, but, you know, and I love to win. I tell people this all the time, like winning, that locker room, once you won a big game and you come in, like if we were to go to, and I had teams go into Duke and win, go into North Carolina and win, go to Louisville and win, Kentucky. I mean, those aren't easy places to go win, and I've had teams do it. And that locker room is special. Like that moment there, you
Hmm.
can't just recreate that somewhere else in life. I don't think it's hard. But even though as much as I loved winning, I look back and probably my biggest joy comes from watching the young men that I recruited and coached, and now they're adults, and now they're doing well in life, and now they reach out and it's, "Hey, coach," and we talk, and to see where they are, married, children, family, jobs, whatever it may be, and I would have to I'm guessing right now that for
Yeah.
you, maybe that's similar. Winning is special, but those relationships
Yeah.
that you forged over all those years, think about all and still are to this day you are with young people. That there has to be some, joy in that maybe, maybe we even see it clearer now. I see it a little clearer now than I used to, maybe, to be quite honest. But I
Coach,
love those
I
relationships
was
I've
in
had with those
tears.
guys.
I'm always in tears. But I was in tears when Kemba Walker retired and they asked me to do a retirement video for him. And now he's coaching. Tu Holloway is of all guys, he's coaching. Mark Lyons is trying to get on coaching. Those names mean so much to everyone in the basketball world. But like I got a young man by the name of Darryl Crawford, our coach, he was 15 years old. He's a super successful businessman right now, big time father, incredible husband. Man, we won. I got a guy, his name is Nathaniel Lester. He's a NYPD detective. Like we won. I won. I'm watching guys who are influencers on, I guess that's the word, influencers on social media. Like, coach, we won our first game in like this Nike Scholastic League. It's great, man. It's one. And the kids came in and they wanted to pour water on me. And I'm like, guys, that's the expectation is to win. Pour water on me when you get married and you have a kid like this. I'm gonna pour water on you. And I think the older I get, the more I start to, I can kind of smell the roses because, coach, I don't know how much longer I have in life. So I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to take the time out to not only smell the roses, but also like walk in it and bask because what we take, we're personal. I've been through a divorce, so
Yeah,
I understand at the same time, like you lose so much and you're like, man, I got nothing left. And I didn't enjoy this. Everything was cumbersome. Everything, you get the number one recruit and you're like, man, I gotta get him again. I gotta do this. Hey, get to an Elite Eight, man. I want to get to a Final Four. Yeah, you get to you get to a Sweet 16, I want to get to Elite Eight. And it's like, man, at how much winning is where like Dusty May just won a national championship. You know what he's talking about? I want to repeat. Like, you, man, you did something incredible. And I want to win again. And I don't talk to Coach May, but I know that's what he's thinking. I know for a fact, Coach, that's you win the ACC, man. I win it again with seeding.
Yeah.
Coach, you just realized you were in the gauntlet.
Yeah.
So again, it supersedes. Winning kind of supersedes our feelings, but it's like no, like I won today. It's May 5th, right? I won. I'm on Coach Gottfried Show. I won today. I didn't think I could do that.
Yeah. Well, that's why you're special, my man. And you brought back a thought. This year, Antoine Petway's the head coach at Kennesaw State, and I coached him in Alabama. And Mo Williams was at Jackson State, and they played each other. And both guys texted me at different times, like, "Coach, you got to come to the game." So I flew in there to Atlanta, watched the two of them, and I sat in the front row, Buck, and I had tears in my eyes. I mean, I'm watching two of my former players coach against one another, Division I basketball, and I'm saying, did
Mhm.
how many games did we win back there? I can't remember the number, but I remember that night. I won't ever forget that night. That night won't ever go away for me because it was one of the best, and I know you've had a million of them, and you've made an impact, but, anyway, man, we gotta wrap it up, Buck. We could talk for hours, but I want you to know that, there's this line in a movie. I'm a big movie guy, but Denzel
Mhm.
Washington and, this young guy, there's a movie called Antoine Fisher, and it's about this young guy, and they're in the Navy, and he's struggling, and he's getting in fights every day, and Denzel plays the roles of a psychiatrist on the base, and he encourages this young guy to go back to his home. I think it was back in Cleveland, Ohio, and he confronts everybody, and he had some women. He was in a foster care and had women that sexually abused him, and friend got murdered, and all the things. But I remember when he came back, Denzel Washington looked at him one time and said, he said, "Man, you're the champ because you've beaten them all. You've beaten them all." And when I look at you, Book, I say, "You're the champ, man. You're the champ. You beat them all.
Thank
You
you,
beat
Coach.
them all, Book. You beat them all."
Appreciate you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, my man. This is the best. This is a great episode.
Coach, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your
Emmanuel
day. And
Book Richardson. Thank you
if you
so
ever
much
need
for
me,
being
I'm
on my
here.
show,
Thank
brother.
you.